The wind was so bad, and the snow blowing into your face. It was terrifying.
What do I remember? I remember it being very windy and very cold. And I was standing in the lobby of the hospital with several other people, and we were looking out the front doors. And there were these gusts of wind, which I had since learned were probably up to about 75 miles per hour. And I'm looking out, and I see this gray sky and lightning and the swirling snow, absolute whiteout, and the statue of the Virgin Mary in front of the hospital. And we're looking at this, and I'm thinking, this is going to be a storm of all storms.
Well, most of my memories have to do within the hospital because I never got outside. I never got to look outside. We were just captivated there. We had probably several hundred people in the hospital at the time. A couple hundred, 150, 200 maybe patients. But then we had some visitors that were caught. On that Friday they couldn't get out. We had employees that didn't normally do patient care, office workers, housekeeping people, and then of course we had a regular nursing staff there, that day. One of the things that Nancy and I concluded was what a wonderful testament the blizzard of 77 was to the quality of people in our community. We had volunteers, the four-wheel vehicle drivers, just give of themselves, volunteer.
Their gas.
Gas. Nobody ever asked for money. They were there when we needed them. Nobody ever complained, etc. At the hospital itself, people went to
above and beyond.
Above and way beyond. We had nurses working doubles, double shifts, sometimes on a couple hours sleep. Physicians were responsive. You had housekeeping people doing everything and anything they were asked, and lots of stuff they weren't asked to do. We had management types helping out, washing dishes,
passing trays,
passing patient trays, because we had to feed patients 3 times a day, just like any other day. The management types probably did that because they didn't have any other discernible skill to share.
Hi, I'm Barb Austin from Austin Farms in the town of Somerset. The picture you're looking at here is the snowdrift by our barn with our neighbor Dudley Chafee standing in front of it. He came down to help my brother-in-law milk while I was stranded at Medina Hospital with my husband. And these other pictures are of a bus in the Barker school system that got stranded in the snowdrifts when they were taking children home on the first bus run because they evacuated the school because of the storm. The other children were left behind and had to stay in school, and our 2 boys were a couple of them. But these buses never made it, so the children got out and stayed in homes along the way, wherever they were closest to when the buses got stranded.
My name's Lou Alonji. I was a Oldsmobile AMC dealer in Jeep on Military Road. And the blizzard of 77, I had 8 four-wheel drives in stock. Gave all of them out. Took one myself, naturally, so I could get around. The next morning, my one friend was stuck downtown, so I went to get him. We went across the street for breakfast, came out. There was 2 young people with backpacks on in the street. And I said, "Where are you going?" And they said, "Niagara University." I said, "You'll die before you get there." They said, "Oh, geez." I said, "Come on." I drove them all the way out there, took them out to 4-wheel drive. They couldn't thank me enough, My neighborhood was all socked in, so I called them up, who wants groceries, got a list, took a couple of them, the rest of them, I think Channel 7 filmed me at Tops, when Tops was the other place there. So I got them groceries.
Well, I was at home for 3 days, and then I got transportation, got back to work at the Niagara Gazette, where I was a pressman, and then I was there for 4 days until we could get transportation back to home. You had to turn down your heat because National Fuel is trying to save fuel for the homes and that stuff. So what we did is we were basically in our kitchen. I brought a portable TV in there. We had 2 sliding glass doors we closed, and we watched TV in the kitchen and ate and drank and played board games with the kids.
What was your most vivid memory of the blizzard?
Probably when we went for a snowmobile ride on Sunday when there was a downtime. The storm stopped for maybe 5 or 6 hours, and going out into the areas of Wheatfield and that, and finding cars that were completely buried and roads that were impassable because of 15 and 20 foot drifts, and the snow was just as hard as a rock. You couldn't dent it with a shovel. It was packed in so tight. It was just unbelievable.
About 2 or 3 in the morning, I got a call from my parents. They were staying at a neighbor's house across the street, and they said that the house next door to them had caught a blaze, and they had to evacuate the house. There was an alleyway between them, but the winds were so strong from the blizzard and there was so much snow that the house was totally encrusted in ice, but my parents' home was getting scorched. My dad was a glass blower, and he knew that he had in the basement propane and oxygen tanks, so the firemen were very concerned that the neighborhood could actually blow up. So they had to evacuate. The fire was eventually contained, but what was left was almost like an ice palace. And the photo made the AP wire photo in Las Vegas, and my brother recognized the house and our house next door, and as a result called home, and it was like a crystal ice palace. But I'm kind of glad that day was over. It was exciting in the sense I'd never seen anything like that, and yet it was frightening. But I was too young to even realize at the time. I was in my mid-20s when you're young and you think nothing will happen.
Well, I had a young son at home, and I was worried about him. I had called and told him I was on my way home, but that had been hours, you know. And I finally when I got off that bus and started down, the snow was up to here. And it was all I could do to get, the wind was so bad, and the snow blown into your face, and it was terrifying. But I was determined I was going to get home. And I tell you, by the time I got to the door of the apartment, I lived upstairs. I had to crawl up those stairs. I was so cold. And I just pounded on the door. My son came and opened the door and helped me in. I never forgot it. It was a nightmare.